from Faith Forward Media, this is Healthcare Musings. I'm Dr. Hassaballa. Hey everybody, welcome to Healthcare Musings. Happy to have you with me. I apologize in advance for the background noise, but you got to get content and record when you can, especially with a busy schedule as mine. I am currently in between events at my daughter's swim meets, and so I thought let's record an episode because I've also been passing the time by writing appeal letters because, as you know, I'm a physician advisor focusing on DRG and medical necessity appeal work. So today's episode, we're going to talk about metabolic encephalopathy because this is a frequent target of commercial payers when they go back in retrospect and they deny secondary and primary diagnoses in order to claim that the severity of illness for the patient was less, and therefore they, quote, overpaid on the claim, and then they want money back. And a very frequent target is metabolic encephalopathy. And so today we're going to talk about metabolic encephalopathy and how you can properly document metabolic encephalopathy. But first, we have to know what it is. A lot of times we'll say patient presents to the hospital with altered mental status, right? But that's not really what it is. It is really metabolic encephalopathy. So let me kind of go over what is metabolic encephalopathy. So, and I got this from Open Evidence, a wonderful AI tool based on PubMed. And so I recommend every clinician to get this app. So metabolic encephalopathy is defined as such, quote, metabolic encephalopathy is defined as a diffuse, reversible cerebral dysfunction caused by systemic, metabolic, or toxic derangements leading to acute or subacute alterations in consciousness, cognition, and behavior without primary structural brain disease, unquote. And then later on, it also says, quote, metabolic encephalopathy is typically reversible if the underlying systemic disorder is promptly treated. However, prolonged or severe cases may result in secondary structural brain injury, unquote. And that's the key. So really, altered mental status is not the diagnosis. It's the condition is metabolic encephalopathy, and it's due to something else. So people who are septic can get metabolic encephalopathy. They can come in with alteration in mental status. People who have cardiac arrest can get metabolic encephalopathy from the lack of blood flow during the cardiac arrest. People who are hypotensive can get metabolic encephalopathy secondary to the decreased perfusion to the brain. People who are dehydrated and get syncope, that's really metabolic encephalopathy from the lack of blood flow. People who have an arrhythmia and then have low blood flow to the brain get metabolic encephalopathy. People who suffer from acute stroke get metabolic encephalopathy from the damage to the brain, right? And so, in the end of the day, metabolic encephalopathy is really brain failure. It's an organ failure, right? It's brain failure, and so we should document that as such. It's brain failure, and so we should put that in the record. Now, here's the thing: even if you do accurately document metabolic encephalopathy, the payers will go, well, you didn't do anything about it, right? You just documented it, but it didn't consume resources, and that's actually objectively not true. We are monitoring their neurologic status with serial neurologic assessment every single day, as we treat the primary cause. So, for example, someone comes in with true sepsis, organ failure, and they're encephalopathic from sepsis. We are watching their metabolic encephalopathy every day as we treat the sepsis. Does their metabolic encephalopathy improve with treatment? We're monitoring. We're seeing how they are. The nurses are assessing their neurologic status. When you're doing your neurologic exam, you're assessing their neurologic status, right? And so you document that. Document the diagnosis, metabolic encephalopathy, and then continuing to monitor for signs of neurologic recovery as we treat the primary cause, whether it's sepsis or syncope or arrhythmia or renal failure. Renal failure can cause metabolic encephalopathy, uremia from uremia. As you treat the renal failure, as you treat the uremia, you're watching the neurologic status. Document that, write that in the record. And then if it's resolved as the treatment of the primary cause is resolved, write that down. Then encephalopathy resolved because we successfully treated the renal failure or whatever the cause is. That way, the documentation is solid, and then they can't come back later and say, oh, you did nothing about it. That's not true. You are doing something about it. You're monitoring, you're watching, you're treating, and you're seeing, is there an effect of the treatment on the neurologic status? And if there isn't, and then you're doing further workup. Maybe you're doing further imaging. You do an MRI. You do another CAT scan, right? You call neurology. You consult neurology, right? You do an EEG. You are working up the metabolic encephalopathy from seizures, for example. You have post-ictal encephalopathy. Well, it's the seizure disorder is causing post-ictal encephalopathy, and now you're doing further workup. You're getting a further specialty consultation. That's resource utilization for the specific diagnosis. All that has to be in the record, okay? And a lot of times we don't do that for whatever reason. We just copy and paste or don't think it's important. It's very important because it heightens the severity of illness, right? If someone has a simple UTI and you treat them and they get better and there's no effect on their brain, then it's not as severe of a condition as if somebody who is encephalopathic because of the urinary tract infection, they're completely obtunded. You're considering intubation. You're considering putting them on a ventilator, for example. That's significant resource or utilization that has to be documented in the record, okay? So all that is super important. So in the end, metabolic encephalopathy is a thing. It's a real diagnosis. It is brain failure. It's an organ failure. And we have to, one, document it as such, and two, continue to document what we're doing about it every single day to see if it's for the workup, diagnostic studies, specialty consultation, whatever it is. We have to document the fact that we're doing things about it, and then document either it's improving or it resolved, and then carry it through to the discharge summary and summarize what we did about it. That's key in order to be able to defend ourselves against these retrospective DRG denials for metabolic encephalopathy, where then they accuse us of overbilling and then they ask for money back. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, for your time and attention, and we'll see you next time on Healthcare Musings. Thank you for listening. Sign up at healthcaremusings.com to get every episode delivered directly to your email. And please don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Thank you so much.